So I've had the opportunity to work with the ANA on their programmatic supply chain study, which we released a first draft of in Cannes early in the summer. And the findings themselves weren't that surprising. It was the scale of the findings that were frankly alarming. Let me give you 3 instances of that. Among the 21 study participants, approximately 16 had inclusion lists of sites that they wanted to do business with that had been vetted, determined that they were measurable, determined that the video or the media content would be in view. The average number of sites on those inclusion lists was 6,000. When the study results were published, we found that there were actually 44,000 sites upon which the average participant's advertising ran. 38,000 on average that they did not approve. This is a real issue if you understand the dynamics of CPRA as one example. Under California's Privacy Act, you are required as the marketer to perform due diligence on every site with which you do business. And the line that is in that language, which is really, that law, which is really concerning to me, is failure to perform said due diligence will result in the loss of the presumption of innocence by the California Attorney General. So marketers are going into this programmatic marketplace thinking they've established who they want to do business with, when in fact that list is being broken by secondary and tertiary auctions. Along those same lines, not one of the marketers in the study listed a single MFA site, those made for advertising sites that typically have a very high ad to edit load, often have dubious content, some of which can be plagiarized, and create a really bad user experience. You may have this medical issue if you have these symptoms, and it's real clickbait in its worst form. So 21% of total impressions delivered in that study went to MFA sites. Not one MFA site was listed among the companies that the vendors that these participants want to do business with. 14% of the dollars, and right there you can see what's happening. They're coming in, bidding low for an impression, and they're producing content that actually is designed to be more brand suitable than quality news journalism. Let me give you an example of how they do that. They do that using sophisticated AI that reverse engineers a keyword exclusion list, the words I don't want to show up against. And then they create the content in near real time without those keywords. So now, in a programmatic environment, I have a choice of paying a premium for an article from a reputable publisher like the Washington Post, which uses the best words to describe a situation, like what we might be seeing, this week in global news, and some of those words are offensive. And then there's something over here that covers the same story without the offensive words, and it's cheaper. So that's the second problem. And I would say beyond that, there are a lot of nuanced issues that marketers really need to pay attention in that study.
Lou, is this a failure of technology that's supposed to stop this sort of thing, or is it a lack of will or understanding?
It's definitely a lack of will of understanding with regard to what's going on in programmatic. I would say this: the average senior marketer who sets policy for the company does not know the questions to ask and avoid putting themselves in situations where they might embarrass themselves because they don't know what to ask. And it's a failure of imagination, because there's an approach which either says, let's avoid news entirely, which is an abdication of marketers' responsibility to support journalism, or there's a keyword list that is so long it would rival the yellow pages in size. We like to do something called the Hillary Clinton test. We ask our clients if Hillary Clinton is still listed among the keywords they're blocking from the 2016 election, because really since then, she's a grandmom and she's an outspoken advocate for things like truth in journalism, but she's really not controversial. Almost everybody still has Hillary Clinton under keyword tests, and I like to call keywords roach motels. The keywords check in, but they don't check out. So marketers need to go re-audit their keywords that they're blocking, make sure they're relevant for today, question why they're sitting out of news, and if they are sitting out of news for what are valid reasons, then do some experiments to validate those reasons.
It seems like made-for-advertising sites could have been stamped out 10 years ago, but it's getting worse. Who's responsible to deal with this problem?
I think that there was, again, a failure of imagination when it came to clients. Clients hire agencies. They hire ad verification companies. They say we only want to run on these sites that are on our approved list. They express their general beliefs about where their dollars should be invested. But no one has gone back to them, from what I have been able to determine in my chats with many senior marketers who I've worked with for many years, and said, what of these MFAs? Do we have a policy against MFAs? Should we have the policy? Should I, the marketer, be setting the policy instead of you, the agency, or the ad verification company? Those conversations largely haven't taken place, and one of the hopes with the ANA Programmatic Transparency Study, and you'll be hearing about this in Orlando in 2 weeks on a panel that I'm sitting on, is that marketers go back to the shop and say, hey, we need to have a serious conversation about why our dollars are going here, how many of our dollars are going here, and whether or not we are owed a clawback, and how we avoid this in the future.